What's up? So you're probably here because you've been trying to work on our watch app and you've run into the same problem that I did, and that it takes forever to deploy to a device. And the simulator isn't much better, right? So I've gone through all this before and I figured out the most efficient ways to test watch apps from Xcode. This is going to be a really quick tip, but it's going to make a huge difference in how efficiently and how quickly you can work on your WatchKit apps. So WatchOS testing is hard for two reasons. The simulator isn't always reliable. The connectivity in the simulator does not always reflect the connectivity that you're going to have on a real device. And then secondly, if you want to test on a device to fix that problem, it can take several more minutes to actually build and deploy to a device for whatever reason, because Xcode is installing the app to the phone and then to the watch and attaching a debugger through that whole system. So device testing is just really slow, and that's a problem when you're in the middle of trying to figure something out. So I ran into that problem as you have, and I Googled for answers and I really couldn't find any help. And you can actually go to the developer documentation. Apple has an article titled "Running Your App in the Simulator or on a Device." You would think that that might have some tips, but it really doesn't say anything about it. It's really not very helpful because it kind of just gives you the basics of how to do it. It doesn't give you any tips on how to make it faster or really even explain why it's so slow to do on a watch. So I'm going to show you the ways that I've found to be most efficient for testing and developing on a WatchKit app. So I've got a phone and a watch here. These are both up-to-date newer devices. This is an iPhone 11 Pro Max, and this is a Series 4 Apple Watch. They're paired, and I'm going to choose the watch scheme in my app, and I'm going to build and deploy to the watch device, okay? And so we'll see how long this takes. So this worked, and it took about 6 minutes. Now that's 6 minutes of not being able to do anything, just sitting there watching it build, deployed to the phone, and then having the phone install the watch app, and then the watch app connecting to the debugger, and that's just a long time for me to wait and sit there. I easily would forget what I was even trying to test in that amount of time. And sometimes after waiting that whole time for it to deploy to the watch, the debugger doesn't even connect, so you've done it all for basically nothing, and then you just want to quit and go home. Now the trick is, if you build and run to your iOS device, it will automatically download the WatchKit app to your watch if it's a new version of the app. So a quicker way of doing things is if you just increment your build number and then run the app on your phone, it'll automatically install the new version on the watch as well, because the new version number forces that new install, as long as the watch has enough battery and all that good stuff. Now let's see how long that takes. So that took 2 minutes, okay? And these were both clean builds and the same app and everything. So it took about a third of the time. Now at the cost of not having a debugger, this lets you quickly run and test WatchKit apps. Now, since the watch does use Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, depending on what's available for these device installs, there are ways to improve that by doing some black magic, by turning on and off Bluetooth so that you make it use the faster one, and then turning the Bluetooth back on once it installs to attach the debugger, because it needs Bluetooth to use that. And that's just a lot of work and a lot of things to remember when it's not really necessary for me. Now you might ask, why is it so important that I even use the device? Because the simulator seems pretty quick. It is a big deal because of reachability. Now reachability is what determines whether or not your messages send, depending on what type of message it is, in your watch connectivity session between your phone and your watch. If that reachability is not active or not reachable, then your message will just fail to send and it will be lost if you're using the send message API function. It's actually really hard to get that reachability to turn off in the simulator. You have to lock it and wait for at least a minute in my experience. However, on the device, as soon as I turn my wrist over like this, reachability has turned off so that my send messages aren't working. And that really came back to bite me when I didn't know that, and I was relying on that to stay reachable. I didn't know that it turned off so much. So anyway, that's one thing that you might not know. Alright, so thanks for watching. I hope that made sense and I hope it was helpful. I like to do videos like this every time I come across something that's super helpful to me and improves my process and just improves me as a developer. So I like to share it with you. I would love for you to subscribe. I'm going to keep making things like this. Feel free to ask a question in the comments. and I will see you next time.